Real-life paradox: fossil fuels versus renewables. With Ronald Stein, one here, author, columnist, energy literacy consultant, and Vijay Jara, Yadav. But unfortunately, Vijay has had a problem with his connection, and he is not here. Ronald, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. Yeah, I got that email from BJ that he's in India in a place that has no internet connection, which is part of the reason we're going to be talking about this subject because
Yeah,
they don't
yeah,
get the goodies that we get.
yeah. But we can plan another time with him. For sure, will
Definitely,
be
definitely,
a
because
pleasure.
he's very close to the people that are
Perfect,
basically getting the shaft of what's going on.
perfect, perfect. Ronald, I have two important charts to share with you and with all our audience. The first, saying that by the end of this century, there will be 11 billion people on the planet. So from 8 billion to 11. Great, big number. And the second, as you always say in Ethiopia, for instance, 23% of the population lives on less than $2 a day. $2 a day. You always say
Yes.
about that. So, Rhoda, my first point for you is the following. Will there be energy for so many people and many people with little money to buy? How will it work?
Well, let's talk about the term energy. We want to talk about electricity or products because right now the green movement in the wealthy countries is focusing on mandates toward electricity, and the mandates toward electricity is effectively mandating that we rid ourselves of fossil fuels, which is the commodity that provides all the products to the world. And so what the developing countries need is the products. We have, like I say, more than 6,000 products that come out of crude oil and natural gas, pesticides, fertilizers, you know, everything that needs electricity is made from fossil fuels. And so they're going to be shortchanged on the products. And if they're shortchanged on the products, they'll have no need for electricity because there'll be nothing to electrify. you know, you can charge an iPhone with electricity, but you can't make an iPhone with electricity.
Right.
And that's the distinction that right now, those people that are living on a few dollars a day, they don't have what we have. And they don't have, sanitation, filtration, air conditioning. It's going to be very, very difficult. They'll be, like you say, they'll be populating, but the longevity will be pretty short.
Yeah. But focusing on energy for electricity, uh, do they need wind and solar energy? These people from this poor place in the world.
No, because like I say, why would they need electricity? They don't have iPhones. They don't have Wi-Fi. They don't have air conditioners. And, electricity is not going to put food on the table. It can't make anything for them. That's the distinction policymakers fail to understand. There's a difference between electricity and products because renewables only generate electricity. They make absolutely nothing for society. And they
And,
can't make tires and,
yeah.
insulation.
And what could be the solution for these poor people in several different countries? I mean, the people in the left part of that curve, that bell curve. What's the solution for them?
Well, I think the solution is all the money we're mandating toward, the wealthy countries are mandating toward renewable electricity. I think some of that could be mandated or contributed to help bring some of these poor people out of poverty and, make their lives more meaningful. more useful because, it's only the wealthy countries that are, quote, going green because they have this misunderstanding of the word energy and they're totally convinced that wind and solar is going to replace fossil fuels. But as we talked about, wind and solar only generates electricity.
Cannot
It
replace. Yeah.
can't make anything. And if you have nothing that needs electricity, if you don't have refrigerators and air conditioners and iPhones and iPads and Wi-Fi and data centers, if you don't have that, because they're all made with fossil fuels, then there's no need for electricity. So why give them electricity when there's nothing to electrify?
Yeah. Yeah. No doubts. No doubt. Let me share that to George Oliveira from Lisbon. Hi, Isaac. Good to see you again, Georgie. But after the debate from yesterday, are you more, let's see, convinced that energy in the United States will be different from now?
I mean, depending on who's president?
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
that's true.
yes, because, obviously I think Joe Biden is totally convinced that wind and solar is going to replace fossil fuels. And he, like most policymakers, most politicians, need some education because in the conversation, the wind and solar do not make anything. And just providing electricity is not going to provide anybody anything. What do you need electricity for? They don't have any air conditioners to run, defibrillators to operate, X-ray machines.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Stuart Turley. It's a pleasure to have you following us here today. Please give good questions to Ronald. He needs complex questions. My questions are not
Stu
so
always
complex.
does that.
So, do you expect that to have a shift in the energy policy in the United States after? Of course, it's all in probabilities. We are not talking
Well, I
about.
think it's not just the United States. It's all the wealthy countries that are committed to this green movement because the green movement is, like I say, it's causing cost of electricity to go up, cost of fuel to go up, cost of products to go up, and the wealthy countries can maybe afford it. I know I'm here in California. I just see our homeless population growing because people that can't afford it, and living paycheck to paycheck, wind up, helping to grow the homeless population. But all the wealthy countries, Germany, the first country to go green.
Mhm.
Today they got the highest cost of electricity in the world. And it's electricity is not solving their problems. They need products to keep the population surviving and growing and, keep the longevity going.
Yeah, Ronald. Some countries are saying that they have a surplus of energy coming from wind and solar. Did you see something related to that?
I mean, a surplus of electricity.
Yes.
As an engineer, I look at wind and solar as two ways of generating electricity that don't work most of the time. you know, and we got six ways to generate electricity. You got wind and solar, coal, natural gas, hydro, and nuclear. The other four methods, nuclear, hydro, coal, and natural gas, they provide continuous electricity, 24/7. If you take, all the hours in a year, they're running like 95% of the time. They may be down for maintenance occasionally, but you can rely on them for uninterruptible supplies of electricity. Wind and solar can't do that. And you're basically just building a redundant system that works occasionally. But if you want continuous electricity, you got to operate your airports, your hospitals, the military data centers, computers. You can't take a minor interruption. It reboots, and that doesn't work. So it's basically wind and solar exist because of mandates. The government's providing the money. You get engineering companies will design it, construction companies will build it. But would private investment invest in it? I don't see any of that. There's no return on investment because it's so unreliable.
And we talked about this in the past podcast, but this forcing process to live with renewables instead of fossil fuel is a mandate, as you said. What's the reason? What's the logic? What the thoughts that are behind this?
Well, Armando, I don't think there is any logic. I think it's just a misunderstanding. They're saying, oil is energy, wind turbines are energy. That's wrong because wind turbines and solar panels were 100% made with oil. And you get rid of oil, you can get rid of electricity. Because remember, oil came before electricity. The light bulb was made with oil. In every electrical generation system we have, the computers, the wiring, the insulation, the air conditioning behind those closed doors, it's all made from products that emanate from the oil derivatives we can crank out of oil. And so that's the real confusion. The policymakers and politicians believe that wind and solar can duplicate what fossil fuels does. But they're totally dependent on fossil fuels. They cannot exist without fossil fuels.
Supposing, of course, only ideas that we have the Democrats change the candidate to the next elections, November, for the California governor, and
My
Trump,
goodness.
the other
No.
and the other side, Trump. What do you see in the energy trends in the United States with one or another guy?
Well, I see the trends occurring even now, worldwide, because the wealthy countries are experiencing the fact that they're not achieving their goals because it's an unattainable goal. Because wind only generates electricity as well as solar, and you're seeing resistance in all the wealthy countries that this is not the way to go. And if by going the way they have over the last several years, the difference between wealthy countries and poor countries is getting bigger and bigger and bigger because, the wealthy countries have gone green, have high cost of electricity, high cost of fuel, and obviously high cost of the products. And inflation, it's just driving it up. And in countries that are making a couple of dollars a day, they're just watching, the good life disappear out of sight. So it's going to be, I think it's coming to reality more and more. And I mean, it's so obvious, have a discussion. There's no way if you want to eliminate fossil fuels, the questions that were asked to the debaters, they asked about inflation and immigration. There was no questions talked about energy or electricity or products, because if the Democrats are really gung-ho by getting rid of fossil fuels, do they really want to close all the hospitals that didn't exist 200 years ago? Do they really want to close all the airports that didn't exist ago, 200 years ago? Today we got 50,000 merchant ships. They'll be docked at the harbor. You got 20,000 commercial jets, 20,000 military jets. Do you really want to ground them all? And now that we're going to data centers and artificial intelligence, they need continuous uninterruptible electricity. And you can't get uninterruptible electricity without fossil fuels. I mean, even all the lithium and cobalt and all the exotic minerals and metals requires a lot of mining. Armando, this mining equipment is huge. And the mining equipment is all made with fossil fuels. And once you mine it, you got to move it to where it's being used, by ship or by plane. And yeah, everything is. I'm 100% in favor of getting rid of oil if there's a backup plan.
Yeah, backup
Right
plans
now,
for
we don't have a backup plan.
contingencies. Yes, yes. Tell me, price in California for energy, I mean electricity and fossil fuels, are in a good reference to the other parts of the country, or?
I think that's where the rest of the country is going. Yeah, California has the most expensive electricity in the states, in continental United States, and the most expensive fuels. And it's like I say, it's tough on
But
the
because
citizen.
because people are richer and can pay more.
Some are, but you look at the homeless population. Is we got the largest homeless population in the country, and it's growing. So it's a challenge because, like I say, they're pursuing an unattainable goal. And again, all it would take is a conversation. Because, how do you expect a wind turbine to make your iPhone? It can't. It can charge it, but it can't make the iPhone.
Yeah, that sure.
And, everything in our lives. I mean, all the hospitals, medications, the heart machines, the x-ray machines. I mean, when I go inside of a hospital, I'm amazed. I look around, everything,
Yeah, that's
100% of what
right.
you look at, it did not exist 200 years ago.
Yeah, that's right. Let me share a point from Sipo Corpella, a friend of us. But the leaders do not care because they do not know what to do. They only think they are concerned that, let me read here, it's very small letters for me, getting their paycheck each month. Exactly what you mean every time, Stein. The bottom line is that we have come to that
Dead
D and
ends, dead ends, yeah.
distance. What do you
Yeah,
think?
like I say, they just do not know. I mean, obviously they're not engineers. I don't expect them to be engineers, but just having conversations with engineers to have a back and forth fireside chat. I mean, that's what you got to have with teachers and students. You got to start from ground zero. The old cliche, how to eat an elephant, one bite at a time. Well, that's how you got to convince the population, one at a
But,
time. And
but we agree with Seppo that they do not know what to do.
they do not. Well, they do care, but they do not know what to do because they don't understand what wind and solar can do. It does something totally different than what oil
The
does.
difference.
Because, there's three fossil fuels. You got oil, natural gas, and coal. Now, coal and natural gas are heavily used to generate continuous electricity through power plants. Oil is never used to generate electricity. Oil is useless. It's black tar. If you remember the cartoon series, the Beverly Hillbillies, the black tar bubbling up from the earth, that's exactly what it is. It's useless unless you can throw through a refinery and, they heat it and they beat it and they, crack it and they cool it and, all kinds of crazy
Yeah.
things. But, they get the derivatives, and through human ingenuity, we've
Mhm.
been able to use those derivatives to make all the products in our daily lives that didn't exist 200 years ago.
Yeah.
And those are the same products that the developing countries are not getting. And the pressure is to, reduce our dependency on crude oil, for what?
Yeah.
We would, it would shorten our lifespan.
Two more comments from Seppo. And owing to technological developments. And the last one, this issue does not have technical solution.
Well, the technical solution is, like I said, we've got crude oil products. And the supply chain of products is what's driving this world economy. And we want to focus on improving the efficiency and longevity of that because we're extracting things out of the earth, be it coal, oil, natural gas, lithium, cobalt, whatever we're taking out, all these resources, the earth has a limitation of how much is there. Is it going to be, 50 years, 100 years, 1,000 years? Who knows? But the earth has been around for like 4 billion years. But modern man, I define modern man as the humans that started taking the stuff out of the earth for our use. Yeah, we can be around another 500,000, 2,000 years. Who knows? But when you take a look at the earth, it's been around for billions of years. That's a small microsecond of existence on this earth. And, the good news is, there's talk about CO2. Well, the fact that CO2 is increasing has allowed us to grow more food and to feed more people. And if we're going to grow from 8 billion to 11 billion, we're going to need a lot more food to feed them.
Yeah, a good point that Seppo is bringing to us. What do you do with fossil fuel production begins to decline? And he says that 50 years max.
I think that's an unknown item because we thought it was getting low, and then we found fracking. Technology will probably be able to find more, but regardless, it's not going to last forever. I mean, we could find oil for the next 1,000 years, for example. But beyond
It
that,
says
so
50.
yeah, we want to basically extend the efficiencies and the conservation. Just because we can dig it out and use it, we don't want to waste it. We want to basically preserve as much as we can for as long as we can. Not just for our lifespan, but for our kids and their grandkids, et cetera, et cetera. Because, I've seen, cars. My first car was it was a smoker. You got, 10 miles to the gallon, and, internal combustion engines have improved, and now you're getting, 50, 60 miles to a gallon, and they're much cleaner. You could almost run your car in a closed garage and not suffocate because it's so clean. But yeah, there's room for improvement of what we already have. And if we can clone oil and provide an alternative source to meet these supply chain demands of all those products, I was interviewed on a New York TV station once, about 6 months ago. And the first question to me was, "Hey, Ron, we understand you're pro-oil." I said, no, 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 no. I'm not pro-oil. I'm pro the products we get from oil.
To
That's
have a
the
replacement, yeah.
that's the thing that our policymakers are not addressing, because wind and solar is not replacing the supply chain of those products.
So your point is technology can bring to us a game change in this game.
I think so. I think so. And
Yeah.
it's got to be affordable. And like I say, there's so many billions of people that are poor. We got to get the stuff that we're enjoying in our lifespan to them so they can improve their life and have, clean water, have sanitation, and, have, modern hospitals to deal with and airports to fly in and out of.
We are we going fast enough in technology developments and research to reach this point, as Coppola says, 50 years max for oil? Are we going fast enough?
I think we've gone the other way. We're mandating so many dollars to go wind and solar and really diverting it from meeting the supply chain demands of humanity that I think we're actually going backwards. And so it's going to be a challenge. And, as long as you're mandating it, the wealthy governments that are mandating it, they got the money. They can print the money. You can design it, you can construct it and build it. But poor countries, they don't have enough money to subsidize themselves out of a paper bag. And the wealthy countries aren't going to mandate electricity over there. They don't need electricity. They don't have anything to electrify.
So do you believe that the electrification will grow proportionally to the other sources?
I think it's more important that they get the products to improve the quality of their lives. Some of those products, you take what's in the kitchen. Not everything needs electricity. A lot of the utensils and cooking pans and et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of products that can improve people's lives. When you want to get to electricity, well, just like, our society, back in the 20s and 30s, we had a lot of the products. We didn't have all the technology, the iPhones and iPads and the internet and, to be able to work virtually and that type of thing. That came with our development. But you need a stable society that can work and live and, produce.
Yeah. How do you see the intention to remove natural gas from kitchens worldwide, starting in some states in the United States?
I think it's the same part of the confusion that, they want to get rid of fossil fuels. And, fossil fuels have some emissions, but the galactic forces of the sun and the earth, it's amazing. I have in my office a globe, and I look at it all the time. 70% of the earth is water, and the other 30% is land, and a good part of that is uninhabitable because it's mountain and deserts. And so humanity's presence is so minute. But when you see it on the news, if a refinery, has an upset, you magnify it and you think this is the whole world. That's, it's black, but it's such a minute part of the atmosphere. So it may affect climate change, but we can adjust to anything. When you're talking about, if their predictions are right that we're going to change by 1/10 of a degree, Armando, I go through a 30-degree change every day here in California between morning and afternoon. And if it's going to be 30.1 degrees, I think I could adjust to that.
Simple is provoking you. Ronald, you are setting a trap to the poor people.
I don't know if I'm setting a trap. I'm trying to open the trap door so they can enjoy some of the good life that we're enjoying. Because right now, I think the policymakers are basically setting the trap door. They're not going to let the people out of poverty because everything is becoming so expensive. And for what? All you're doing is generating electricity. And the poor people are going to be, I think I'm looking out for the poor people because we stop this madness and let's focus on the supply chain of products. That's what I would like to see focus on. And stop using the word energy.
Let me suggest that we invite Stuart Turley and Seppo Corpella with you to have a conversation next week. I'm inviting them to come.
Yeah, good men, good guys.
So my conclusion, I don't know if you agree with me or not, but I recommend you be the candidate for United States election for Demo party.
My personal trainer said the same thing. My wife says no, and she's the boss.
She's the boss. Oh, always. Thank you so much, and it was a pleasure again. And let's wait for our friend from India next time. And
yeah, we'll find out when BJ is back in an area where he's got some Wi-Fi connection, because he would add a lot to it because he is basically a good representation of the voice of the poor.
Yeah, that 1.5 billion.
Oh yeah, it's huge. So yeah, there's got to be conversations and
will be funny. Yeah,
talk about both sides. Okay, Armando, have a great day. Okay, take care.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you.